Okay, I call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. And then, in the absence of our Vice President of Academic Affairs, if we could get Natalie giving our land acknowledgement.
Associated students at Sacramento State would like to take a moment to give honor and respect to the ancestors and to the diverse indigenous people connected to this territory on which we meet. The original stewards of this land belong to Nisnan, Patwin, and Miwok Native Americans. Keep them in your mind, carry them in your hearts, and we ask that you take a moment to consider your ancestors and your relationship to the land we are on. Thank you.
And if we could get, are there any moment of silences? No? Okay, moving forward, we'll go to roll call. Oh, so sorry. Pledge of Allegiance. Natalie, if you could lead us in the pledge.
Put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and no moment of silence. So we'll move over to roll call. Javier.
All right. Andrade Dominguez.
Present.
Bolas.
Here.
Varela.
Here.
Tong.
Here.
Vega Castellanos. Hernandez Hunter.
Here.
Torres.
Here.
Aguirre.
Here.
Jobber.
Here.
Colin Vasquez.
Here.
Gani.
Here.
Jimenez.
Here.
Ambalia.
Here.
Hussein. Aber.
Here.
And Curry. Gallardo.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Gill.
Present.
Masule.
Here.
Dunning. Atwell. Rocha. And Walter.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move over to the approval of minutes. We'll go through each one to see if there are any edits. Are there any edits to be made for the minutes for 5/11/2023? Margaret?
I just wanted to correct the date. It should be the minutes for 5/10/2023, not 5/11.
Okay, thank you. Are there any edits to be made for meeting 8/02/2023? Any edits for 8/02/2023 special board meeting? Any edits to 9/06/2023 working board meeting? Okay, seeing none, we can, if there are no objections, I move to approve the minutes for 5/10/2023 board meeting, 8/02/2023 special board meeting, special working board meeting, 8/02/2023 special board meeting, and 9/06/2023 working board meeting.
A second.
Okay, if there are no objections, the minutes are approved. Moving over to public comment. Members of the audience may address the board on any item within the jurisdiction of the board or any agenda item. If you wish to address the board, please sign the speaker identification sheet. When you are called upon to speak, please step forward to the podium and state your name and major clearly for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and the overall time is 15 minutes. Those wishing to speak on a non-agenda item will be called upon at the beginning of the meeting. Those wishing to speak for or against an agenda item will be called upon after the meeting has been officially introduced, after the item has been officially introduced to the board. Every agenda item will be open for public comment before the board takes formal action on the item.
My name is Valerie Rigner. I am the Director of Peak Adventures. I know I've met many of you when you came and did your tours in all of our departments, but I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself, introduce our program, and I have a very special offer for all the board members here today. If you're not familiar with Peak Adventures, we are the outdoor program here on campus. We do many, many things, starting with how we started, which was as a bike shop in the 70s. We were a little tool co-op, and in 1989, we officially became part of ASI, getting our name Peak Adventures, and had our first director. From there, we started running outdoor trips, and we started gathering outdoor equipment, so we started rentals, and then we built our challenge center in its current location in 97, but it had been in other locations on campus prior to that, and we also run a summer camp. And so I encourage you to come by and visit anytime, and we would like to extend a special offer to the board members that you will be invited to come on one free trip during your year here on the board. So I have these brochures. Please take one and scan the code.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you out there, Bill, right? And so that will take you to all of the activities that we have this weekend. We do have caving, which is one of our more, I'd say, popular trips. If you don't mind getting dirty, you don't mind tight spaces, it's one of the coolest places to go caving. You really get in there with the headlamp and all the padding and everything, so it's a fun trip. Hope to see you there. When you come on into the office or give us a call, just tell us that you're a member of the board, and we'll be able to get you registered for free. You won't be able to do it online, unfortunately. But yeah, that's Peak Adventures, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you for your time.
Okay, is there any other public comment?
It's my first time of wanting to see more examples.
Oh, yes.
My name is Elizabeth Saunders-Pincus. I am a public health, occupational health, and safety major with a biology minor here at Sac State. I'm a senior. I'm sure you're aware that there are a lot of homeless students at Sac State and in the CSB system. That's why we have a CARES program and some of the outreach programs offered by ASI. I just was in for first floor office looking at all the great stuff we have to pass out. I'm seeing a need for a professional clothing closet on campus. I talked to Emily Tupper, the director of the CARES program, and she'll get back to me today. She's been bringing it to her boss, the director of student services. But I was made aware that ASI last year, at the end of the semester, had kind of a short-lived clothing closet. And I was hoping to maybe have a partner in ASI who have quite a bit of space, storage space, allotted to your organization, and a lot of members and reach with the student body. And so I was hoping for possibly storage, help with events, volunteers, just getting the word out for the clothing closet. And myself, I do unhomed outreach in the Sacramento area. And business clothes were just a byproduct. They were just clothing that didn't really match with what I needed, like fully lined white linen suits. That's the piece of clothing that I got when I was like, I need to be taking this somewhere. So I started giving them to area job training programs, which is great, but I was explaining to somebody about the needs on campus, and then it hit me that I had all these great things, and there was a need that I could address right on campus that I'm in the community. So I'm asking the ASI to consider partnering or being a part of in some way the campus clothing closet. And if you'd like to, my information is on this sheet, and I would love to hear from you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And just to make sure, did you sign the speaker identification?
I did.
Thank you so much. Okay, and is there any other public comment?
Hi, board. My name is Kayla Karush, and I'm the Marketing Outreach Manager for the Student Engagement and Outreach Office. I also play the role of Associate Director for that office as well. By request of Ryan Choi, the food pantry coordinator, he asked me to let everyone know that the free grocery pop-up will be taking place on Monday, September 18th at 10:30 a.m., which is free to all students, no one card required. It's also the first event to kick off ASI Week, which is next week. It's a full list of events that are published on the ASI website to highlight our programs and services. We invite the board to participate and attend all the functions, including block party. Block party alone can draw up to 2,000 students, so it's a great place to meet your campus and fellow students. You're welcome to reach out to me at any time, and I'll be presenting on our programs and services and best SEO later this month on the 27th, so we'll see you all again soon.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move over to our special presentation, ASI Audit 2022-23, Clifton Larson Allen LLP. Sandra.
Hi, before bringing on CLA, I want to do a brief introduction. And so, folks, a lot of this, if you saw version 1 during the retreat when Mark Montalvo took you through, if you remember correctly, we were discussing the unaudited financials, and he made a big deal that these are the numbers, these are just not audited. So what you're going to be seeing today is the final audit. So our partners from Clifton Larson have been invited, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the amazing accounting team that is in the audience that has been living through this audit. So I want to introduce them because they are the ones who have done heavy lift from the summer, from the time, from the beginning. So we have Humberto Perez, who's accounting manager. We have Michael Eldridge, Elvia Felix, who else? Am I missing anybody? Can I see? Oh, I can't see Gerald. Okay. Okay. Well, Gerald's IT. So the accounting team have been hard at work responding to our new firm, because we used to have a different accounting firm, which was Keiko, and this year we started a 3-year engagement with Clifton Larson. So the first year of a audit is usually pretty grueling because they're new to us and we're new to them. So they kind of have to dig a little bit deeper. So we've had that, and I'm very happy to say we have, and I will not steal their thunder, but I'm happy with the results of our audit, and I will want to give the floor to Clifton Larson to share out with their findings.
Okay, if there are no objections, then we can keep going with the presentation.
All right, so this does have we have a short presentation that we're going to go through, but before we get started, I do want to do a shout out to the team, the ASI team, because as it was mentioned, this is a really heavy lift. It's a very tight, short turnaround between the time we have started with the end of the year and when we have to present today, and it's a very big toll, especially this first year when we're kind of getting to know each other. So thanks again for all of the hard work that your team has put into this. So we do have a short presentation that we'll go through, and then I'll open it up for questions. So if we go to the next page, we'll talk about the agenda. So we'll talk about the scope of the engagement. We'll have some financial statement highlights, other required communications that are required under the auditing standards, and then the engagement finalization. And lastly, we'll talk about one emerging issue that will affect next year's audit. So if we go to the next slide, we were engaged to express an opinion on the ASI's financial statements as of June 30th, 2023. And then also the Children's Center, which is in progress. So we're not going to talk about that one, we'll just talk about the main financial statement today. And then we were also engaged to summarize the audit findings and talk to the board, which is what we're doing today. If we go to the next slide, I want to talk or kind of remind everybody that we do a risk-based approach. So we don't look at every single line item on the financial statements. Instead, we take a look at the financial statements and identify, what areas does it carry risk? If something's going to go wrong in the financial statements, where would it go wrong and where would it be material? So the areas that we decided were riskier and where we're going to focus our time for the audit is the first one was the related party activity. Just because there's so much related party activity between the university and the other auxiliaries. Property and equipment we always take a look at because it's usually a larger dollar balance on the financial statements. We chose estimates because estimates are judgment, it's management's judgment. And we want to make sure that the inputs that are going into those estimates are reasonable and that the estimates themselves are proper. The next one is revenue recognition and deferred revenue. That's a large amount on your balance sheet. And then also, we want to make sure that it's in the right period. So if you have anything that goes into the next period, we want to make sure that it's a liability on the books for this year. Grant compliance is an important one with the Children's Center, so we want to make sure that you're in compliance so that way you receive your funding. And then lastly, internal controls. We always want to get great understanding of internal controls just because you need to have good controls in place, otherwise the integrity of the numbers on the financial statements might be compromised. So we want to make sure there's good controls in place. So moving to the next slide, I'll actually give it to Liz to talk about some financial statement highlights.
All right, so we have a couple trend slides to show you to highlight some of the financials for this year and in the past as well. So this first one is looking at ASI's change in net assets, your net income for the last 5 years. So you can see it changes every year, and that's very typical for nonprofits, especially when you had COVID-19 that really did impact that 2021 change in net assets. You have really gotten back into your groove in 2022 and 23 and had more of those activities and things after the pandemic. So really good trend line there, obviously with 2021 being a little bit of an outlier. And then as far as revenue composition goes, here we just have what your revenue was made up of in 22 and 23. And so a lot of times we want to make sure and look at and kind of analyze if you have many different revenue streams. So thinking, you're not totally reliant on one revenue stream. So you've got a lot of different buckets here of revenue that comes in, with the student activity fees and the program service fees being your biggest area, those blue bars there. And you can see that increase in revenue as well. The entire bar has shifted upwards into 2023. A lot of that having to do with more activities and more coming off of those pandemic restrictions that were still in place a little bit in 2022. But overall, really good diversification of revenue streams here. And then looking at expenses year over year, what we like to do is, expenses can go up or down based on activities in the year and various items that are happening, but looking at where you're spending the money for a nonprofit is pretty key. So you're spending about 80% of your expenses on programmatic activities. And then the other portion there is on your administration, your management, general expenses. So that's in a really good threshold for your functional expenses. Another category that you don't have anything for is fundraising. So that's sometimes another option here, but looking at this, really strong programmatic expenses and not a lot of change year over year. And then as part of our internal control communication, we did not find anything that would rise to the level of a material weakness or a significant deficiency that we would need to report to the board today. Overall, no internal control issues were noted during the audit. And then our last required communication is really to the board of directors here. So the purpose is to provide an update since our planning meeting. We didn't have any changes in the scope of our audit. Those bubbles that Brenda went over were exactly what we had planned to focus our attention on, and that's what we did during the audit. We also implemented a new accounting standard, leases, in 2023. So you'll see on the balance sheet there's a new right of use asset and lease liability. Really what happened with the lease implementation is that any leases, no matter if they're operating, financing, they have to be put on your balance sheet as an asset and a liability and then amortized and depreciated over the life of the lease. So there's really no bottom line impact, very minimal, but you will see a gross up on your balance sheet there. Not a huge impact overall at ASI, but still have a couple leases that are being considered there. And then estimates are presented in the financial statements for your allowances, your functional expenses, your depreciable lives, and we review those and make sure that we're comfortable with management's estimates and the judgment that they're putting into it, and we did not find any issues with those. We also had no other significant deficiencies or difficulties, no disagreements, nothing else to report to the board today. And then lastly, we did not have any audit adjustments or past adjustments. So the financial information you're receiving throughout the year is accurate and up to date. And then as far as finalization goes, we'll get the approval from the board of directors today, and we already have that signed representation letter. So we will be ready to issue the final pretty report. And then I'll turn it to Brenda just to talk about that one emerging issue before we open it up.
Right, thanks Liz. So the emerging issue has to do with auditing standards 143 through 149. And the reason for it is because business has evolved and it's going more online. So think about how you're shopping, you're doing more shopping online, you're doing banking online. Everything kind of has moved over to that online platform. And because of that, the auditing standards needed to evolve too, to take a look at that type of business. So effective for 2024 audits, we're going to have to implement this new standard. What it means is that we're going to have an enhanced risk assessment. So remember those risks that I talked about? Now we have to look how those risks are going to be affected by the IT. And we have to do a more enhanced risk as well as get a deeper understanding of estimates. And with that deeper IT understanding, we're going to be asking more inquiries, we're going to request more data information, and do more testing. This might involve the use of more IT specialists, and we're going to have to look at your system, and it's going to have a greater impact if it's a more complex IT system. But because we're looking at things for the first time this year, what generally happens is we might have a potential for some management comments or internal control comments like significant deficiencies. So I just want you to be aware that this is going to have a big impact on your audit for next year. And if we go to the next slide, there are some things that you can prepare. So here's some questions you could be asking yourself. These are being questions that we ask next year, so you can kind of prepare and get ready for the questions that we're going to be asking. So the first one is your financial system a custom solution, or do you have access to change source codes? So anytime that you can access and change the source codes, that provides more risk into the audit. And if you do change the source codes, we're going to be asking, why did you change them? What did you change? And what kind of controls do you have in place to make sure that they're operating effectively? The next question is, do you have financial systems other than the general ledger that you rely on? So for example, some of your program revenue, that probably is sitting in a different system because you're going to get scheduling and just collecting the cash from the different programs that you offer. How does that get into the general ledger? Do they talk to each other, or is it a manual entry? Again, we're going to be looking at those controls to make sure that everything is transferring from one system into the next system properly. And then do you prepare financial statements outside of the general ledger financial system? So if you're preparing the financial statements using spreadsheets, if that's a manual process, what kind of controls do you have in place to make sure that the numbers and the integrity of those numbers is proper and is getting into your financial statements proper? And then the last one is, do you have written policies over your information technology internal controls? This is one of those questions that we're probably going to ask right away at the beginning of the audit, and this is what we're going to use to audit your system. We're going to be looking at your policies and start asking questions about, do you have these policies in place? Which ones do you have in place? And are they being monitored and adhered to? And this is going to be especially important because you do have systems that you use with the university, so you're going to have to coordinate with the university to make sure that you have all these policies and procedures in place overall. So these are things that you can start asking and start preparing for next year. So that being said, I'll just mention on the next slide we have our contact information. So if you have any questions or comments outside of this meeting, feel free to reach out to either one of us. So at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions or comments.
Passion?
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for the presentation and the hard work you guys did. So these occurring changes, would that lead to occurring costs as well? That's what the from the funding that we have.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yes. So the changes that we need to implement for the concerns that were addressed. Would we need? You said more specialists, more IT-oriented specialists. We're going to review our IT is accessed. Do we have access to source code, etc. In case we will change the whole system, do we have expected cost of how this one change if we're going to implement it?
So that is something that we're working through. We don't know how much it's going to affect it because we should be able to leverage some of the work that the university auditors do on the university systems. So we need to get a handle on what they're doing because we don't want to overlap. So at this point, we don't have a clear idea of how this is going to affect the cost.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. If there aren't any other comments or questions, we can move over to our next item on the agenda. Thank you so much for the presentation, Brenda and Liz. Thank you for coming into our meeting on Zoom. And yeah, does anyone, no more questions or anything? Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next item on the agenda, we have the discussion of the strategic priorities for 2023-2024. All right, so at our last meeting, we went through all of the strategic priorities that we came up with at the retreat, and we made some edits and finalized them and got everyone signed up. So I sent out the final copy once everything was edited to all of the board members to confirm what they've signed up to, all the priorities. So that should be finalized, and we submitted it. So as of now, we have our final document with all of the different board members signed up for each priority. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the strategic priorities that we came up with? Okay, seeing Natalie?
So I would just say, like, after this, let's start working on our groups. So if you see people who you are working with together, I'd recommend making a Microsoft Teams chat to kind of like get faster on when you are going to start meeting. We will be checking in mid-year. At our mid-year retreat is when we kind of see where you are at the process, and if we see you haven't started the priority, that's going to fall all on you, since it's just you, whoever's on the priority, that who should be focusing on it. If me and Veronica or none of the execs are on it, we're not going to be, hey, have you started? You know, it should come to mind, it's already finalized, let's start working. Absolutely, if you have any questions, of course, come and talk to us. If you need help getting connected with somebody, you don't know kind of where to start it, absolutely ask the returning members. But let's get the work going on this, and if you have any questions, just let us know.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, if there are no objections, then we will end the discussion and move over to our consent calendar. The following items will be moved to consent calendar. 2023-24-09-11, Berea Tong Andrade Dominguez Financial Committee appointments. 2023-24-09-12, Tong Andrade Dominguez University Committee appointments. 2023-24-09-13, Tong Andrade Dominguez recommendations to the President for the University Committee appointments. 2023-24-09-14, Bolis Tong Andrade Dominguez Internal Committee appointments. 2023-24-09-15, Vega Tong Andrade Dominguez Faculty Senate Committee appointments. And 2023-24-09-16, Vega Tong Andrade Dominguez Grade Appeal Panel appointments. If there are no objections, the consent calendar will be approved. All right, moving over to new business. The first item here on the agenda is 2023-24-09-17, Bolis Andrade Dominguez appointment of Vice Chair to the Board of Directors. Okay, so for this piece of legislation, so we have our Vice Chair. I'm making a recommendation to the board to appoint Isabella Jimenez, our Director of Social Sciences and Interdisciplinary Studies, to be the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors. Isabella has shown a lot of skills that pertain specifically to the vice chair role. They would be responsible for chairing our ASI board meetings when I'm not able to, and as well as taking the minutes for the executive committee meetings as well. And Isabella has shown a lot of interest in this position and dedication to learning more about chairing the board meetings and taking minutes. So the process that I had for this position, I released an email letting all of the board members know to reach out to me if they were interested in this position, and by a specific deadline, and Isabella reached out to me. She was the only candidate that reached out. So we spoke about her intent to run, and she said that she really wanted to be the vice chair. So I'm making the recommendation to the board to appoint her into this position. Are there any questions or comments? Does anyone want to make the motion to? Natalie?
I move to approve 2023-24-09-17, Bolas Andrade Dominguez appointment of vice chair to the board of directors.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Is there any discussion on the item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of 2023-24-09-17, Bolas Andrade Dominguez, appointment of vice chair to the board of directors, please raise your hands. Okay, you can lower your hands. All those opposed, please raise your hands. All right, the item has passed unanimously. Moving over to our next item, we have 2023-24-09-18, Bolas Andrade Dominguez, appointment of secretary to the board of directors. So this is our second position that also is part of the executive committee, the board secretary. This position is in charge of approving all of them, signing off on all of our minutes, as well as being the board liaison on the executive committee. So I'm making the recommendation for Rosa Vasquez to be our board secretary. The way that I went through this process was the same exact way as the vice chair position. Initially, another board member had shown interest in this position, and they let me know before the deadline, and then they reached out to me telling me that they didn't want to do the position anymore, and Rosa was interested. So I connected with her, and she said she did want to do it. And I think she's a perfect fit for the position because she, as the board liaison, would have to connect really well with the board members and form, close relationships to the point where she'll, be able to represent their perspective and their voice on the executive committee, which I think she would do a really good job of. So I'm making the official recommendation to have her be our board secretary. Is there a motion? Natalie? Rosa?
I move to amend this legislation as one of my last names is missing. I don't know if that is a big deal or not. And I don't know if I'm motioning correctly, so.
Okay. I think so, since that's a grammar thing, so we can make that edit on the side.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion? Natalie?
I move to approve 2023-24-09-18, Bolas Andrade, appointment of secretary to the board of directors.
Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of 2023-24-09-18, Bolas Andrade Dominguez, appointment of secretary to the board of directors, please raise your hands. Okay, you can lower your hands. All those opposed, please raise your hands. All right, the item is passed unanimously. Okay, moving on to our next item, 2023-24-0919, Berea adoption of the audit for 2022-23. Is there a motion? Sachi?
I move to approve 2023-24-0919 Berea adoption of the audit for 2022-2023.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Oh, it has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Sandra?
Yes, if Chair allows, I would like to pass it over to Sandra.
Okay, yes.
Hi, all. So this is the actual vote for our audit, and I'm so glad, I didn't want to spoil the news, but how wonderful it is to, as the executive director of ASI, to get a no findings, no, not, you know, like, it's like the music to my ears. So very positive audit findings, tremendous work by our auditing team here in the audience. I did want to also make sure that you all knew that the audit committee met last Friday. Sachi was there, and it is chaired by a faculty member, so we were very lucky to have Professor Grace Mbako chair our audit committee, and we had campus representation on the committee and 4 students at large who voted. So they also have sent this audit, they voted unanimously in favor of us accepting the audit, and they've sent it. I have, and as part of the legislation is the memo that faculty, Professor Mbako sent to you. So I'm sure you've all read it, the memo, where she also recommends adoption of, it's up on the screen, adoption of this audit. It is a clean audit. It is good news, but I did want to make sure that you all had an opportunity to ask any questions of our wonderful accounting team or to me about the information that has been provided for you before it goes up to a vote.
Okay, is there any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of 2023-24-0919, Berea adoption of the audit for 2022-23, please raise your hands. Okay, you can lower your hands. All those opposed, please raise your hands. All right, seeing none, the item passes unanimously.
And please clap for everything.
Okay, moving to our next item, 2023-24-0920, Andrade Dominguez Bolis, Operating Rule Change Edition of 100.9 ASC's U.S. Code of Conduct. Is there a motion? Natalie.
I move to approve 2023-24-0920, Andrade Dominguez Bolis, Operating Rule Change Edition of 100.9 ASC's Code of Conduct.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Natalie.
So how we went over at our working board meeting last week, we thought it was vital to add a code of conduct in our own set of operating rules, just as the university has, to ensure that we are aligning with the university's code of conduct and ensuring that we are following those rules and ensuring that ourselves as board members our students feel confident that we are following that code of conduct as well. So I'm just going to read through it again as our meetings are recorded at former board, so students look back that they know that we will hopefully pass this today. So this code of conduct is designed to promote a healthy and safe environment that encourages the academic, social, and emotional development of all students. A disciplined environment is essential to achieving these ends. This code of conduct is intended to enable the development of self-discipline in all ASCSUS board members. Both positive and negative consequences of behavior are recognized as necessary to encourage appropriate behavior and discourage inappropriate behaviors that would interfere with the goals and missions of the organization. Students are entitled to work in a setting free of harassment, intimidation, bullying, and violence. As such, ASCSUS will remain a safe environment free of harassment, intimidation, bullying, violence in accordance with university policies and state law. All staff, board members, and volunteers of the organization shall act with honesty, integrity, and transparency in all their interactions with each other and as representatives of the organization. The organization promotes a working environment that values respect, fairness, integrity, and collaboration. And this next section speaks on sexual harassment, so the prohibition against sexual harassment. ASCSUS strives to maintain a workplace that is free from illegal discrimination and harassment. While all forms of harassment are prohibited, it is the organization's policy to emphasize that sexual harassment is specifically prohibited. Any board member who engages in discriminatory or harassing conduct is subject to removal from the board. Complaints alleging misconduct on the part of board members will be reported promptly to the Office of Equal Opportunity. If the Office of Equal Opportunity finds the board member to be in violation of the campus Title IX policy, will result in the board member being deemed ineligible to serve and immediately removed from the board. Board members must not engage in sexual harassment or conduct themselves in any way that could be construed as such. For example, by using inappropriate language, keeping or posting inappropriate materials in their work area, or accessing inappropriate materials on their computer. Student Code of Conduct. 1. The Board of Directors shall behave professionally and courteously to all Sacramento State and auxiliary staff, university faculty, university administration, and university staff. 2. The board members shall abide by the Sacramento State Hornet Honor Code. 3. The Board of Directors shall act with integrity at all times when representing ASCSUS, representing the organization in a positive and supportive manner at all times and in all places. 4. The Board of Directors shall put the interests of the organization above personal interests. 5. The Board of Directors shall be prepared to discuss the issues and business on the agenda, having read all the background material relevant to the topics at hand. 6. The Board of Directors shall cooperate with and respect the opinions of fellow board members and leave personal prejudices out of all board discussions, as well as supporting actions of the board, even when the board member personally does not support the action taken. 7. The Board of Directors shall be respectful and courteous at all board meetings and committee meetings. 8. The Board of Directors shall refrain from intruding on administrative issues that are the responsibility of management, except to monitor the results and ensure that procedures are consistent with board policy. And 9. That the Board of Directors shall never possess or use alcoholic beverages or illegal drugs on ASI property, or report to duties or represent ASCSUS under the influence of alcohol or illegal drugs. So I think it's important that we pass this, that we have this in our bylaws, and that our students know that we are abiding by this code of conduct.
Okay, are there any other questions or discussions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of 2023-2409-20 Andrade Dominguez Bolas Operating Rule Change Edition of 100.9 ASCSUS Code of Conduct, please raise your hand. Okay, you can lower your hands. All those opposed, please raise your hands. All right, the item passes unanimously. Moving on to our next item, 2023-2409-21, Baria Andrade Dominguez Operating Rule Change 400.11 ASI Scholarship Committee. Is there a motion? Saji.
I move to approve 2023-2409-21 Baria Andrade Dominguez Operating Rule Change 400.11 ASI Scholarship Committee.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Saji.
Yes, so as we discussed in the working board meeting, this is the legislation just to update the recommendation of word count from minimum 500 to maximum 600, which is less than 750. And in my position, I'm gonna serve as the chair for ASI Scholarship Committee. And the reason why I'm proposing this board recommendation is to align with other scholarship requirements to make more accessible and easier for students to apply with other scholarships. And Emily, if you can scroll down, we have another
number 6 as well for the social justice scholarship. The same thing for 500 to 600. So students don't need to worry about the word count whenever they apply. So that's the agenda.
Okay, is there any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of 2023-24-09-21, Maria Andrade Dominguez Operating Rule Change 400.11, ASI Scholarship Committee, please raise your hands. Okay, you can lower your hands. All those opposed, please raise your hands. All right, the item passes unanimously. Okay, moving over to our next one. If there aren't any objections, I would like to switch over to our vice chair so I can talk about my item.
Okay. Veronica, would you like to present your legislation?
All right, so
All right, so the next item of business is 2023-24-9-22, Bolis Andrade Dominguez Operating Rules 400.14 ASI Memorial Scholarship Committee. Is there a motion? Veronica.
I move to approve 2023-24-09-22, Bolis Andrade Dominguez Operating Rule Change 400.14, ASI Memorial Scholarship Committee.
Second.
All right, the motion is passed. Is there any, oh, just kidding. Just kidding. It has been moved and seconded. Is there to approve Operating Rule 2023, Operating Rule Change 400.14 ASI Memorial Scholarship Committee. Is there any discussion? Veronica.
Okay, so just like our ASI scholarships, me and Sachi work together to make this change to the Memorial Scholarship as well. We mainly wanted to kind of have like a uniform word count between all of our scholarships so there isn't any confusion. So this one is the same as the ASI scholarships where there is a minimum of 500 words and a maximum of 600 words. So it's all the same throughout all of our scholarships.
Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing none. Are we ready for the vote? Oh, yes. Oh, all those in favor, raise your hand. All right, lower your hands. All those opposed? Okay, seeing none. The motion has been adopted. All right, the motion has been adopted. Next item of business is 2023-24-09-23, Bolis Andrade Dominguez 2023-2024 ASI Board Annual Strategic Priorities. Is there a motion? Veronica.
I move to approve 2023-24-09-23 Bolis Andrade Dominguez 2023-2024 ASI Board Annual Strategic Priorities.
Second.
Okay. The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Veronica.
So these are our 2023-24 strategic priorities that we all came up with together at the retreat. They've been edited a little bit at our last board meeting, but this is the final copy with all of the board members signed up for their priorities.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of passing the 2023-24 ASI Board Annual Strategic Priorities, raise your hand. Lower your hands. All those opposed? Okay, good. The motion is approved and passed.
Yeah, you should take it back.
Thank you guys, I appreciate your patience.
All right. So now we'll be moving over to our ASI Executive Officers ex officio and advisor reports. Each report will be getting 3 minutes and then 2 extra minutes for questions. And we will be starting with Natalie, our ASI president, whenever you're ready.
I forgot I go first. Okay, so this is my first board report as president. This is starting from the beginning of my term from June up to last week. So I believe it's over here. So that's just a little note that I wrote to any of the Hornets who are watching. My office hours are every Wednesday from 9:45 to 1:45. They can either be in person in my office or on Zoom. And my contact and Instagram information is up here if anyone would like to follow that or contact me. I'm serving on the lobby corps for my internal committee, which starts tomorrow. And then these are all the wonderful committees I'm sitting on. A lot of these just require the ASI president to sit on, and a lot of these are connected to my priorities that I've created as president. I will say I'm very excited for the Presidential Task Force on Campus Safety that is beginning next week. These are the priorities that I have assigned myself to. And then some wonderful meetings I will highlight throughout my summer. I very much enjoyed filling our wonderful new directors. That was an amazing experience being able to do those 3 search committees and find our wonderful Tia and Philip, our board. So that was a great experience. I also really enjoyed going to Panetta, so I went to a week-long leadership conference with our Secretary of Defense, or old Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, where he has all the 23 CSU ASI presidents come together, where we kind of all meet each other. What are our priorities for the year? It's actually where I broke my leg, but it was better than the outcome. But I really enjoyed that. Getting to meet everyone throughout the summer. I had a lot of meeting with a lot of our campus partners, with our new president, and then I kind of started working on our priorities, which is why you see that I lived here during the summer. But it was a great summer, and I want to say that I really enjoyed our new student and family convocation ceremonies that most of us were at. I cried like 10 times throughout it because of how emotional it was in there, being able to see the students' energy and with their family members. So I really enjoyed that, and being able to be there and give a speech, and being able to interact with our incoming Hornets. And I'll leave it at that. And I attended the CSU Board of Trustees meeting yesterday, so I will talk a little bit more about that in announcements. So thank you.
So now you have 2 minutes for questions. Are there any questions for Natalie? Sachi?
Hi. I have seen a lot of IPG committee meeting. Can you please speak on that? I just want to know.
Yeah, so IPGE is the international, I'm forgetting the acronym. Programs and Global Engagement. So essentially, this was a committee that was reviewing the structural processes of that center. There were a few students last year who went to Faculty Senate and gave public comment about how their experiences in that center and kind of what they were going through. So last year at Senate, because last year I actually was serving in this position, I was at Faculty Senate, and because I was on it, the provost asked if I would be willing to serve on this committee. So what we basically did, we talked with a lot of people who were working, student assistants who were working in the center, with staff, with everyone basically who was in the center, and kind of got to know more what they were experiencing, and then we reported back to the provost, which oversees that center. So it was a lot of meetings one-on-one with people, which is why you see that a lot in there. But it was a lot of work, but I think it was essential, and there's a lot of change that is coming to that center, so I'm really glad I was able to be a part of that.
Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move over to our next board report. This is mine. So just to start off with, my office hours are every Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and every Wednesday from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And there is my special note. Going on to my internal committees, I sit on the Student Social Justice and Equity Council and Student Marketing and Outreach. For our first meetings, both of them were more of introduction meetings, but we did come up with a plan of everything that we want to accomplish this year as a committee. With Student Social Justice and Equity Council, we talked a lot about the different inequities we see on campus, and we have plans of how we want to try to work with different campus partners to address them. For Student Marketing and Outreach, we chose the ASI Board as our department that we want to work on marketing this year. So we're going to be working together to promote the board of directors and promote things we do, and we have a lot of different plans of how we want to do that this year. My two university committees are the AICP committee, but we haven't met for that yet, and the police advisory committee, but we haven't met for that yet either. These are my strategic priorities that I am sitting on, including the all board ones. And then during my office hours, I did a lot of different things, from scheduling presentations and tabling to drafting and editing the strategic priorities and filling internal committees. And then these are all of the meetings and events and presentations that I've done since June. So a lot of one-on-ones with each director, and I think definitely the highlight was the new student and family orientation as well. That honestly made me wish that we had something like that. It was a really great experience, and it was really cool that me and Natalie got to be part of the presidential platform. It felt like we were graduating because we never got a graduation, so it was a really fun experience. But yeah, that's it. Are there any questions or comments? Alrighty, seeing none, we'll move over to our next board report. Sachi, our Vice President of Finance. Whenever you're ready.
Alright, so hi everyone, and this is my first summer board report as a VP of Finance. Last year I was serving as Director of Undergrad, so that makes me feel special on my special day. Mm-hmm. And jumping to the committee updates, as you can see, I'm serving as a chair on 3 committees out of 4, so that's a huge lift here. I'm serving as a chair for Finance and Budget Committee, which gonna start September 19th. So if you also like crunching those numbers, this is actually Veronica's term, so you can join my committee. And I am proud to say that ASI Finance and Budget Committee is at full capacity, which means we have more than minimum requirements of students. And we're gonna start scholarship committee after the scholarship's gonna end, so it's gonna open 22nd of September and use 20th of October. And then for the university committees, I got appointed for UEI board with Natalie, and then for Union World Audit Committee, I'm also chairing as the chair. So we met on September 6th, 7:30 a.m. So it was super early for me to go to that number. So when we had the same presentation from CLA, And after reviewing all the audited financial statements, the audit committee just voted on that. And then on the events, as you can see, a lot of events. My major work throughout the summer was to do screening interviews for our ASI DFA candidates. So this is still ongoing process, and I'm really privileged to be a part of that. Thank you, Sandra, for choosing me. And yes, in the events and then tabling, I have done one tabling so far for first orientation in the summer, so that was a good thing. And then I have updated the dog funding for 2023, and I'm gonna do it in my every final board report, formal board meeting, that how many clubs got funded. And for the strategic priority updates, I haven't did anything because we're gonna finalize today. And I have those cute thing back to school advice. So that's my board report. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move over to our next board report. Alec Tong, our Vice President of University Affairs, whenever you're ready.
Hi folks, I'm Alec, VPUA. My office hours are Monday 1 to 3 p.m. and Thursday 3 to 5 p.m. Though I also recognize that some students may not be able to attend my official office hours due to work or class. So I'm also available Monday to Wednesday after 8 p.m. and from Thursday 5 p.m. to Sunday 9 p.m. I am appointed to 2 university committees, the Sexual Violence Awareness Team. I don't think we have any meetings on that yet. And the Union Well Incorporated Board of Directors, which I had my first meeting this morning. I'm also appointed on the Wellness, Safety, and Sexual Assault Awareness Committee. And we will be meeting for that committee next Monday at 3 to 4 p.m. and I forgot the room number. Aside from that, during my office hours, I mainly drafted university legislation, contacted students, and mostly social media stuff. Aside from that, from June till September, I'd like to highlight most of my meetings are with centers, resource centers, such as Diapita, MLK, Cerna, Dreamer, a lot of centers that I was interested in to learning about more what they do and what kind of resources they provide for students during the semester and how, as ASI members, we can better support them. Which also ties into my strategic priorities, which is highlighted in one of them. I think it's like the first one. Our first strategic priorities is inclusive excellence or something. So those meetings is mainly to prepare myself to better serve students in that capacity. Aside from that, I'd also like to highlight campus events. The Flago Blast was a huge success, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, any questions or comments? Bill?
I'm sorry, I'm newer. Alec, what is the Hive Singer Expo?
Alec?
Sorry.
I think that one was the event yesterday. Yeah, the event yesterday at the Union Ballroom.
Natalie?
It's basically an event where a lot of students who have small businesses can go and essentially sell their products. So I know there was like a barber and who was like giving cuts, and people who sell clothes and bracelets and stuff like that. So I know it's through the Carlson Center with a club called The Hive that kind of organizes this entire thing, and they have it every semester, and it's a huge turnout, and it's always in the ballroom. So those are pretty cool because we're promoting small businesses, but then we're also supporting small businesses. So it's pretty cool.
They're mostly students. Every vendor there are students.
That's good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move to our next board report. Bill A. Bear, the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Good to see everyone. Y'all look good. Sharp. Good to be back, the beginning of my second year at Sac State. So a few things. My office hours are the traditional, in terms of appointments, the traditional office hours, but I will, for those of you that are new, when I'm in the office, I have an open door policy. I really would close my door often, actually, for students. Student in crisis, student just needs someone to talk to. I drop what I'm doing, and I make sure that that student doesn't leave until he or she's needs have been met. So that's important to me. A couple of things that are new. I wasn't ecstatic about the webpage that I inherited last September. So spent some time this summer revamping that. So if you get a chance, please take a look. It explains the traditional role of a Dean of Students and how I see it. And also what services I provide, because I have two roles, so it's important to differentiate. And also I created a email box. So on the website, students can email me through that, but also it's just simply Dean of Students, all one word. Dean of Students at CSUS.edu. If you want to reach out to me, it's pretty simple. And what I did is I flipped my standard email folders and put the student folder up top. So I make sure that that's the first thing I see, and that student emails aren't buried in the 400 or 500 emails I get a day. So that's new. The other thing is I always like to put a little note in for students, and so this month's note really focuses on managing your schedule, time management, also being engaged with the institution. Often, like RAs or athletes or folks in your position, I was an athlete in college and I lived in a bubble, so I didn't really have a really great undergrad community experience. And so I stress upon you to take advantage of something and get in uncomfortable spaces. I like to live in uncomfortable spaces. And I encourage you to do that. And also just be mindful of your mental health. We don't know what folks experience and the students that you run across. It's often veiled. You don't know what students went through this summer or how their semester has started. Or family situations, so just be mindful of that everyone's not doing as great as we may think he or she is, so it's important.
30 seconds.
I can't list all my meetings, several sheets of paper. I will have my committee stuff on there next time, but I did want to highlight that I've been doing quite a bit of meetings with presidential staff, obviously my direct reports, which are 8 individuals, and have attended quite a few campus events. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All right, so Gina Curry is not here at the moment, so we're gonna move to Sandra Gallardo, our Executive Director, whenever you're ready.
Great, so my board report is pretty extensive to what I've been doing, what your higher different departments are doing, but I wanted to just highlight a few things. I did close out the strategic goals for 2022-23, so you can find those from all 7 departments. Yes, she's hovering over it, but definitely invite you to see the board closed out last year their goals, and so did all 6 of my departments. So like you could see that where we landed. We had the pleasure of helping plan and attend retreat with you all. A couple things I want to highlight. We're entering climate change fire season. We do run a lot of outdoor programming. Thankfully, right now we haven't been having to close, but know that we do adhere to strict outdoor air quality controls. So our way to message our closures would be through social media. And this would greatly impact either the Aquatic Center or Peak Adventures. We had a successful full-time staff retreat at the Aquatic Center on August 23rd, and Natalie was there to provide a welcome at breakfast, so thank you, Natalie. Just highlighting a couple big projects that I'm looking forward to completion of turning into getting digital waivers for all of our camps and summer programs. As we go down, I want to, you all know, we welcome, big project for us this year was to get Lisa Dalton's replacement, and Harbier has been doing a terrific job, and I included her note here so that for you all to read her welcome note. And so she's been joining us from San Jose State. Peak Adventures, as you all got the QR code, I do encourage all of you to look at the trips and to pick one. It's free, so a lot of times board members like to go to the camping ones, which are like overnights. We provide everything, so you don't have to know anything. We provide all the training, the food, the gear, so I highly encourage you to get out there. And I listed all of our September trips that are headed out, so if any of those tempt you, please, you can go see if you want to do Yosemite camping or Angel Island bike tour. They're very highly rated, very good. Our Children's Center, I provide you the snapshot of what it looks like right now. We have 62 new children from 56 new families who have been enrolled this fall semester. That's 101 families with 115 children participating in the subsidy program. So that means
30 seconds.
And so a total of 170 children, which is a lot. Large center. We continue our diaper distribution. We give up to 50 free diapers for anybody, so please spread the word. Hornadia de Lake was a success, and just have the free rental days there for you to plan a trip to get out to the Aquatic Center for free, and that's for any Sac State student. Big announcement in yellow, block party. Please spread the word. I really hope to see all of you there enjoying. We're going to have a Hungry Hungry Hippo game where we tie up the students and they just go and get pulled in. So see you there. The food pantry hours and free grocery pop.
Any questions or comments? I have one. Sandra, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, sorry about that. I just realized I have too many departments. So, so the big one is just to please push block party. I would really love to see more than 2,000 students. We're going to have lots of free carnival games, crafts, the Hungry Hippo game, free food. Please spread the word on that one. And please take advantage of the Peak Adventure trip. Seriously, every year I'm always shocked that only 2 or 3 board members take advantage of it. So start planning now, look at their agenda and go out there and enjoy the outdoors. It's very, very good for your mental health.
All right. Any other questions or comments, Sari?
Hi Sandra, thank you for everything you do. I have a quick question for the block party. Is there leadership initiative? Is it on the leadership initiative Hornet Hub? Can we add it?
I'm going to look at Kayla for that.
Yes, it should be.
Thank you. It helps with student engagement.
Yes, it is.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. So now we'll move over to our next item on the agenda, announcements. Does anyone have any announcements before we go over to my announcements and Natalie's announcements? Chris?
So whenever at home, especially since RHA is partnering with y'all, Block Party is next week, so come on out. My next major announcement is our food work group starts back up again this semester. Our first one is September 22nd, so it's next Friday. It's from 3 p.m. to 4:30. If you are interested in attending, please email me, let me know. We can add you to that guest list. Other than that, I'll keep you guys in the loop. We're planning a lot of fun events in housing.
All right, any other announcements? Harvey?
I just remembered. Homecoming, I'm serving on the homecoming committee, so I sent out calendar invites. So mark your calendars, I'll send out more information. Kayla is going to be in contact with Veronica regarding the golf cart and potentially setting that up and decorating it and whatnot. So this is echoing a lot, but please check your emails, check your calendar invites. Even if you decline, accept them. Just send me a response so I know you're getting them. If not, I'm going to be following up, and I don't want to follow up. So yeah.
All right. Any other announcements, Sachin?
Yes, there is the Sanskrit Indian Cultural Club which is organizing the Garba event next Saturday, 23rd of September, 6:15 to 10:30. So we're gonna play the traditional Indian dance and then having traditional clothes. So if you would like to attend, let me know. I will help you to figure out something to wear on the day.
All right, any other announcements? Okay, so I'll go through mine pretty quickly. So I want to shout out the kickoff events again. Really make sure that you guys start thinking about where you're going to have them, what day, what time, all of those questions. And they need to go to Everly and Harbier as soon as possible. It does take a long time to get a room booked, and they need, we want to be respectful of their time and give them a good amount of time to be able to book that room for you. So that should be the first thing you guys are thinking about. And if you need help with that at all, come to me or Sachi. We both did kickoff events last year. So we can help you, figure that out and get all of those questions answered. The next thing is we really want to start enforcing the deadlines for emails. So if you haven't noticed already, a lot of times whenever me or Everly or Harbier send out emails, we'll usually put, like, if it's something that needs a deadline, answer by this date, even if it's just confirming that you've read it. So we've talked and we will start kind of enforcing those a little bit more. So keeping track of who isn't responding to emails. So please make sure that when we send you something, especially if it has like a please respond by this date, you're reading it, and usually at the bottom it'll say something like respond emailing or respond confirming that you've read the email. So even those need a response too. So we will start monitoring that a little bit more. Okay. And then also, if you guys can stay just a little bit longer after, I do want to talk a little bit about some logistics of some training stuff with board reports, and because your board reports for the directors will be coming up soon, so I do want to go over that with you guys. And we will have an exec meeting after this as well. So right after, we'll take a little bit of a break, and then we'll do an exec meeting. Oh yeah, and then after the exec meeting, we will all go out and take the group photo. Thankfully, SEO has offered to take that for us. And then if you haven't taken your individual one today, make sure to stop by SEO to get your individual photo taken at some point. And it would be nice if you could email Emily beforehand so she can give them a heads up that you'll be heading down. Other than that, the most important announcement that I have is that it is Sachi's birthday. And what better way to celebrate your birthday than an ASI board meeting? So what we're going to do is we're going to sing happy birthday for Sachi. All right. I'm not going to start it. So
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sachi. Happy birthday to you.
all right. Any other announcements, Natalie?
Now to the boring stuff. Okay, so I have a few. I wanted to give you all an update. So I did go to the Board of Trustees meeting yesterday, and it was pretty tough for those of you if you watched it on the live stream. They actually voted on it about an hour ago, and they did pass tuition. So tuition will be increasing next year.
So I'm not on the board, but the finance committee did pass a unanimous decision to bring it to the board. They're actually voting right now as a whole board, and so that'll probably be in about another hour when we get the decision. I gave that information to Natalie, but it's from the finance committee specifically, the recommendation.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying. So the finance committee, the main group of people who are working on it are the ones who passed it through their committee, which basically says enough there. But we'll see the outcome. So from here, what we're going to start is an educational campaign and informing students that this is coming, and working with the president's office and what we can do on our campus to ensure that not as many students will be affected in what we can do. So I'll be reaching out to you on our efforts and what we can do moving forward. And that connects to a collab that we are going to have with the President's Office with his 100 Days of Listening, which are the student listening forums. So if any of you went to the forums that happened last year, they're essentially going to be the same style, but these will be in collaboration with the President's Office for his 100 Days of Listening. And essentially how they're going to work is students can come in and they can share their experiences, their thoughts, and it'll be facilitated by myself and President Wood in asking students what they want to see in the future for Sac State. And there will be 3 forums, and I'm sorry, Veronica, I'm pulling my phone real quick for the dates. So you all can write those down and they can be on the recording. So those will be, so the first one will actually be on Zoom on September 20th. From 6 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. on Zoom. And then the second one will be Monday, October 2nd, from 12 to 1:15 p.m. in the University Ballroom, so in person. And then the last one will be Monday, October 30th, from 4 to 5:15 in the University Union Ballroom as well. So there'll be 3 this semester. You have to RSVP, there's an RSVP link for all 3 of them. So once we finalize all that information, which hopefully will be by today or tomorrow morning, I'll send you the flyer, and then we want to send it out. So we'll be doing mass emails to student orgs. Any connections you have on campus, please send it out. We want to see as many students come to these student forums and share their experiences with our president, so we best know how we can help serve them. Okay, and then just some few other ones. The CSSA liaison position was posted on our ASI website. So if you know any students who are interested in traveling with me to CSSA, please spread the word. I'm hoping we can make a graphic for it so we can kind of spread it out. But if you know any students who are interested, have them apply. It's already up on their website. So just tell them to go to our website under employment. You'll see it there, as well as all the other jobs that are open. Deadline to drop your courses is coming up. I don't know the specific date, but that is really important for students to know. So I'm thinking of creating a graphic and let's send it out too, so students know that. And as well as grade appeals. I know Bertha isn't here, but I know she would want me to share that we need students for the grade appeals because that is a strict deadline. So hopefully I can get that information and send it to you all. I know this is a lot that I'm giving you, but it's important information with deadlines, especially when it comes to academics. So just try to get that. And then lastly, I'll just end it with, I know we send you a lot of emails about events and stuff to attend, and you might not be able to because of other conflicts. So my biggest tip to you all is look on the university calendar and just have it pinned in like your bookmarks. It says everything that's going on campus, and it's really easy to kind of navigate. And then you find your 10 that you want to attend, just put them on your calendar, and boom, it's going to make it really easy on you all instead of waiting on us to kind of send you events. Kind of, you're like, oh, I can't make it, it's fine, don't worry about it, but you have your 10. And it's easier if like students ask you like, hey, do you know about this? And then you already know about it. So that's what I kind of did. I kind of went through the entire calendar, put on my calendar some important events, and then they're just there, so I don't ever have to go back and reference to it. But I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions about anything I said, let me know after. Chris?
The census is the 25th of this month. The date for the census, the drop classes, is the 25th of this month.
All right, any other questions, comments, announcements, confessions? All right, I will adjourn this meeting at 3:26 p.m.